Hi guys and welcome back. So next up we are actually going to have a behind the scenes presentation from Jamie Veronica, our president, about our Bobcat Rehabilitation program. So she's going to take you behind the scenes to see the hospital, some of the enclosures, and then afterwards there's going to be some footage that you guys can watch and enjoy of cats that have been previously released, and also cats that we currently have in the rehab program. There's also going to be a chance afterwards for you guys to do a Q&A with myself. So I will be here for a little while after, so think about questions that you guys want to ask, and I will do my best to answer them. So as I said, it's going to be a presentation from Jamie, so I hope you guys enjoy.
Hi, it's Jamie. I'm going to take you on a behind-the-scenes tour of our Bobcat Rehab enclosures here at Bobcat Rescue. Here at Bobcat Rescue, we rehabilitate and release wild Florida bobcats. We take in bobcats that are orphaned and are unable to survive on their own in the wild, and we also take in bobcats that were hit by a car and require veterinary intervention. This is our hospital for the rehabilitation program, and this is where all the bobcats recover until they're ready to go to the outdoor rehab enclosures. To date, we have brought in 72 bobcats and have successfully released 41. Unfortunately, some bobcats are too far gone by the time we are able to rescue them, and they don't make it. Others do not fully recover from their injuries to the point that they would be able to survive on their own in the wild, and then they become permanent residents here at the sanctuary. So we have 6 enclosures here at the sanctuary for our bobcats that are in rehab. Once they are recovered from their injuries or they're old enough to come outside, we put them in one of these enclosures. Each of our enclosures is separated into different sections. This section is for our small kittens and bobcats that were injured that sustained broken bones. It's a smaller area for them to get some time exercising outside, but it's small enough that they don't hurt themselves being too active. So these are about 10 feet by 20 feet each side, and they have 2 different sections that they can have access to. Once they're ready to progress through the program, we'll open the guillotine door and give them access to more of the enclosure. I guess we could do the rack time. This is the medium section of the rehab enclosure. So once the bobcat is granted more access, this is the second stage of the rehabilitation process. And again, the cage is divided into 2 sections so that we can shut the cat away for cleaning or maintenance. This is the largest section of the rehab enclosure, and you can see that it goes all the way down there. The whole enclosure is filled with palm trees, bushes, grasses, and we try to keep it as natural as possible so that the bobcats feel comfortable, and they're also in a habitat similar to what they're going to be going to in the wild. section of the Bobcat Rehab cages has safety entrances, just like this, so that we can go in with our equipment and tools and shut the door behind us before we open the door to go into the enclosure.
Very brave.
The cage is also made out of really small mesh wire, and this is so that the live prey that we put in here can't escape. During the rehabilitation process, we do use live prey, mainly rats, for the bobcats to hone their hunting skills. And to get the rats into the enclosures without us being around so that the bobcats don't associate us with food, we use this tunnel system. So we can open the cap, put the rat inside the tube, close it and leave, and then the tube goes all the way through to different sections of the enclosure. And we can monitor, or we can decide which sections that the rat goes to by using little doors in the tunnel along the way. So if we want the bobcat to get the rat in one particular section, we can close off access to the tunnels so the rat only has that one option. To change the water each day, we don't want to go into the bobcat space. We want to be around the bobcat as little as possible. So we have water bowls on the outside of the enclosure. And this cage is empty right now, but when there's a bobcat in here, we would have a padlock on here. And there's also the snap, so we can actually open this up and get access to the water bowl. All of the rehab enclosures have streaming cans in each section, just like this one, so that we can monitor the cats without being here in person. When we take in a bobcat, we have 180 days until we're required to release it back into the wild. But of course, we always want to release them as soon as possible, because it's just what's best for them. When we release a bobcat, we have to find a location in the same county where it was found, and a property that is privately owned and in excess of 40 acres. We always try to find the biggest pieces of land possible to release the bobcats on, and the smallest parcel that we use for release is approximately 1,000 acres.
Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed that video from Jamie, just giving you an idea of the behind the scenes that takes place for our rehab program. Now the footage that you're seeing here is all footage from releases. These are all cats going back into the wild, which is the end goal. Obviously we want all of our cats that come in to go back out. With the captive cats, unfortunately, that's not possible, but for these guys, they came from the wild, so they can go back there, and they are native to Florida. So these are all of our success stories. Yes, Tammy, I agree, release day is the best. I think for all of us, that's the day that we wait for, to watch these guys run and be free. And as Jamie mentioned, all of our release sites are private property and at least 40 acres. Release days definitely always don't go as planned. So Thor that you saw, and actually that you see here, is one of the few cats that actually stood his ground and didn't want to go. So yeah, eventually he went by himself. Usually they shoot out of there like a rocket, but for him, he was stubborn and wanted to let us know what he thought. So one of the questions we just got was about Angel having no companions. So some of you who have followed our rehab program may know from the past that often if we get kittens in that are single kittens, if we have others around that size, we will try to introduce them so that they can be released together. Shamrock, Lucky and Clover were an example of that. With Angel, unfortunately, because of the huge age difference between her and Poppy, the bobcat that we have in rehab at the minute, we will not be able to put them together, but we did actually put a common wall out in the rehab area so that they could at least see each other and interact. Angel actually yesterday had a injury to her tail, so she's back inside for a couple of days so that we can keep an eye on her. But we just try and do the best for them. Also, with a lot of bobcats, with all bobcats, they are solitary in nature. So when they go out into the world, they are more than likely going to go off on their own anyway. And with us trying to separate ourselves from the cats, we're not going to intervene in any way. So somebody else asked, do we ever set up wildlife cameras on the property? Actually, yes, for every release that we do put a wireless camera trap out there. The camera traps are Wi-Fi enabled, so they will send the pictures directly to Jamie, and then as part of the rehab team, every now and then we'll actually take the memory cards and look through and look for the cats that we've released. We have had a couple that we've seen on camera traps afterwards, which has been fantastic and allows us to keep an update of how the cats are doing. It also gives us an idea of what other prey is out there, what other animals are in that area. So yeah. Please do keep asking questions, guys. I am more than happy to answer them. I've actually been doing rehab since around 2015. So a fair few years, a number of these cats I helped rehab and release, which was fantastic. As you all know as well, Jamie is part of the rehab program, Brittany is part of the rehab program, Mama Becky is part of the rehab program, Karma is part of the rehab program. So we have a number of names that you guys know. Our newest rehabber was actually Erin, who's our operations manager, or co-operations manager. She joined just a couple months ago, so she's learning the ropes and having great fun with it. So if a cat doesn't want to go, we have had that happen previously, and we had to actually redesign our release boxes as a result. So you can see the big wooden crates that we have there. We actually Victor actually installed a moving wall, so we can actually help kind of push them out. But most of the time, as soon as they realize that they can go, they just go. I think for them it's kind of that initial shock that for however many months we've kept them, and now all of a sudden they're heading out there into the wild. You can also see that for every release we do have nets, so that kind of acts as a deterrent to the cats as well and makes them run away from us instead of at us, which is fabulous. So somebody asked why the bobcats don't have chips or tracking devices. So because they are property of the state, we do not chip or put any kind of collars on them, but also because we don't want people to know that they are rehab bobcats. We don't want people to see a cat out there with a GPS collar or a tracking collar and kind of bring it back to us in any way. We want them to be as incognito as possible when they go out there into the wild. So I also have some footage for you guys from our Explore cameras. So for those of you that do not know, we have live cameras at different spots on the sanctuary. We actually have two in the rehab enclosure. We have one in the smaller sections and then one that is the large open area. These are live 24 hours a day. So you can log in, you can watch the cats, see what they're up to. As expected, 90% of time the cats are sleeping. but you do get some super cute footage. We also do have other live cameras that you can find on our website, bobcatrescue.org, and just type in live cams. We actually have a camera now on Angel, who is in the Bobcat Hospital, so you can watch her, see the antics that she gets up to. She's absolutely adorable. And as somebody asked, yes, we do usually try and go live for releases, but a lot of the times the places that we go have terrible Wi-Fi signal or terrible cell signal. So if we can go live, we will go live, but that's not always possible. However, our media producer Afton and Brittany and myself will all film whilst we're out there. So if we cannot go live, we will always put a video together afterwards for you guys to see the whole experience. Yes, thank you, Edith. You can actually rewind the Explore cameras as well. So if you go on and nothing's happening, you can look back and see what's happened throughout the day. But I do have a super cute footage of Poppy, who is one of our current rehabs. He has had an absolute blast since he's been here, and one of his favourite things is stuffed animals. We try and give the cats or the rehabs stuffies that look like wildlife they would find out in the wild. So they get cardinals and they get little squirrel stuffies, and we try and keep it as natural as possible. So you guys can take a look at this video, which is super adorable. So I'm going to go ahead and keep playing the puppy footage in the background for you guys to keep watching, but I am going to answer a couple more questions for anybody that has them. So I've seen a couple things scroll by as we've been watching. One of the questions was, do we spay and neuter the rehab cats? No, we do not. Because they are going back out into the wild, obviously we'll want them to go out there and live their full lives, so no, we do not spay and neuter them. We do, however, spay and neuter all of our residents if they live together. Look through and see what other questions have been asked. So somebody asked, is cleaning done the same way as for the permanent residents? So actually with the rehab cages, I'm sure you guys saw that the wire is a lot smaller. Our typical enclosure wire is 4x4, which allows us to do everything from the outside. But with the rehab enclosures, because they are the smaller wire, it does require us to go in to clean. The great thing with the rehab enclosures, the same as with our residence enclosures, is that they are made of multiple sections. So we can lock the cats in one area, which allows us to go in and clean and be completely separated from the cats at all times. So that is how we clean out in rehab. We do have assigned cleaning days and it rotates weekly, so all of the rehabbers are involved in that. And then for the cats that are in the Bobcat Hospital, obviously we clean them the same way we would our residents in the hospital. So somebody asked if Puppy is going to be released soon. He is coming up to that point, but I'm not sure if we have a specific date as of yet. Somebody else asked about ghillie suits. So if any of you have seen us in the ghillie suit, it's basically a top-to-toe camouflage suit, and you look like a giant tree. The reason that we use those is to dissociate ourselves from the cats. We don't want them to see us and familiarize themselves with people. So for a lot of the cats, we will use ghillie suits to kind of disguise ourselves from them. Some of the cats get super freaked out by the suits. Some of them couldn't care less. So somebody also asked about feeding of the rehabs. So Jamie has actually put together a specific feeding schedule. So based on the age of the cat when they come to us, obviously it will depend on what food type they get. The goal is for prior to release, all of the cats do need to be able to catch live prey. We do not feed live prey to our residents because it's not necessary and they don't need to learn how to hunt or to survive on their own. But with these guys, they're going to be going out to the wild where they're going to need to catch prey for themselves and feed themselves. So that is a skill that they do have to learn. As many of you have seen, for that purpose we do use live rats, but prior to that we will use humanely euthanized rats, or they'll get cut up chicken, red meat, and mashed the same as our residents. So Angel actually is now at the age where she is transferring to live prey, or to whole prey, sorry, and then to live prey. So actually that's a great question. Can you only rescue bobcats in Florida? So we only rehab and release in Florida, yes. So the cats actually have to go back to the area where they were found. So if we find them in a certain county, we do have to take them back to that area and release them. As Jamie mentioned, we do have 180 days to do that. And the only way that we can keep the cats for longer is with permission from FWC and also with a veterinary note. So Dr. Justin is our main vet that deals with all of our rehabs, and if he feels that for any reason we should keep the cats for longer, he will sign off for them to stay here, but we do still have to go through FWC for that. We have a couple of cats like Mrs. Claus and Flint who were not able to be released for various reasons, so they do now live with us on site as permanent residents, but yes, they everything with their permits also had to go through FWC. There's a lot of paperwork involved, and thankfully I'm not involved in that. That is all Jamie, which I give her credit for. So on that note, we can go through a couple more questions if anybody has them. We only have a couple minutes left before we move on to the next event of the day. So if anybody has questions about the rehab program, I am more than happy to answer them. So yeah, a couple of you are asking about Angel. So yesterday they noticed that she was messing with her tail an awful lot, so we don't know if she got stung by something. Just to be safe and make sure that she's healthy and well. She did get moved back into the rehab hospital for a couple of days just so that we can get her some medication and keep a good eye on her. Okay. So thank you everybody for joining and watching this short presentation and asking some great questions. And thank you to all the donors that help make the rehab program possible. It's really because of you guys that we can do so much with these cats and get so many of these cats back to where they belong. So thank you guys for joining. Thank you for your donations. Keep watching and explore. And I will see you guys in a little bit. Have a great rest of your day.